Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
I had to take a PCR to leave to enter into the state of Hawaii, an NAAT PCR test, and I had to take another PCR NAAT test to arrive within 72 hours.
Hello?
Hi, Drea. Is that Drea?
Yes, it is.
Hi, it's Sandra.
How you doing?
I'll have to go because the RCMP officer is coming here.
Does that make you feel unsafe at all that you have to drive these people to the hotel?
Because those guys are negative. They have,
Yeah.
Yeah, so all of them come, they have a negative COVID.
What happens if you go home?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
He just said, you think that you're going home? I said, yeah, I do. And then he said, well, you're going to go either way to the quarantine facility.
The government has really manufactured all of this fear to essentially justify violating our charter rights.
They've written up a fine. I'm not sure. It's for $3,450 because I'm not going to the quarantine facility and not taking the PCR test.
I just was held against my will around the customs for the past almost 2 hours. I'm feeling very intimidated. I'm just really, my nerves are, I'm very anxious. Yeah, a horrible experience.
Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News, standing in front of the YVR Vancouver Airport. Why am I here? Because another Canadian is terrified about being sent to a COVID jail or a quarantine hotel, whichever you prefer to use to explain people being detained against their will after trying to enter our country. We're going to go inside, take a look, and see if we can catch her at arrival. But if not, she says she will have her camera rolling, and there is no way in heck she is going to end up in a COVID jail. We got the boot rather quickly, but not before taking a good look at what appears to be the setup where the COVID testing is taking place in this airport for people upon arrival. We were then told to move out of the area and ended up being greeted by security, or I'm not exactly sure what he was, but he said we had to get out and we had to stop filming. So we're out, and we've received a message, a text message from the lady we're here to give a hand to, and she says, I'm held inside waiting for the supervisor from public health as I don't consent to being unlawfully confined and detained in a quarantine facility. So like I said, she's got the cameras rolling, and we're going to be here to help her at nocovidjails.com. That's where people have been coming and letting us know their concerns about that. And that's also where we have been helping connect them with top-notch lawyers based on their concerns. So if you want to be a part of helping people who are terrified to enter this country, please go to nocovidjails.com. Now, if you go to rebelnews.com, you can catch my recent report with the lady who says she was sexually assaulted while staying at a quarantine facility in Montreal. One of the really bizarre things is she says that although she's deemed so dangerous, too dangerous to be able to go home in quarantine, they sent her off in a public taxi, one that's going to go and pick up other people. And the taxi is what took her off to the COVID jail. Behind me, there's lots of taxis waiting at International, and inside we were told that everybody who's leaving that international plane, unless they have an exemption, will be going to a quarantine hotel. So you make some sense of it, because I sure as heck can't. We were told from someone that taxis do sometimes drive some of these people to the quarantine hotels. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes. Do you have like a contract with the government or anything like that?
We don't have contract. Those bands, those guys have a contract with them.
Oh, okay.
But they give a very poor service. The guys are waiting for hours, even in the lobby. They're charging $20-$30 for a bottle of water.
And I'm hearing it's taking up to 2 days sometimes. Now, so who pays for it then? Is it the person that's ordered to go to these hotels, or is it someone inside?
Yeah, they pay $2,000.
Oh no, I mean, who pays for the taxi ride to the hotel?
No, the customers pays, but we give them the receipt and they reimburse their money from the hotels.
So how do you feel? Does that make you feel unsafe at all that you have to drive these people to the hotel?
Because those guys are negative. They have,
Yeah.
so all the houses coming, they have a negative COVID. And I don't know, it's hard to say.
Well, do you think it's kind of weird that the negative people have to go to the hotel at all?
Yeah, they should have their own choice. Even they have to say the hotel, they should, these hotels, I mean, they're even or like third stuff, they're charging $700 a night. And even if you go, you don't have to book through the air. It's cost only $65. Abercorn and they sign $65 a night and $40 for 3 meals. So that comes over $110. But they're charging $700 a night.
It's insane. And, in some cases, there's no inner lock on the door to keep you safe
You
inside.
have to wait hours in the lobby. Like here, this morning, the flight came from India. The guys waited for the ride for 4 or 5 hours here because they haven't charged, the transportation. So they have to wait.
What are some of the conversations like of the people who you have to take to these hotels? Are they filling you in about how they're feeling about it?
Because they don't have choice, right? So they don't have choice. They're not feeling, the whole system, the setup by the Canadian government, it seems it's not good. The money they are giving, but they are not getting worth of that money.
Did you hear what he said? This is ridiculous. How on earth is this such a deadly pandemic that when you think people have it or may not have it or have the wrong test, you send them off. The government sends them off in a public taxi. And I'm not saying anything bad about the taxi drivers, but what training do they have to properly disinfect their car for someone who's got the plague? This makes absolutely no sense. We cannot stand for a precedent that says that Canada's government can detain healthy people for no reason. That's what's happening. If they're safe enough to go in a taxi to get home, they're safe enough to go home, period. Hello?
Hi, Drea. Is that Drea?
Yes, it is.
Hi, it's Sandra.
How you doing?
I'll have to go because the RCMP officer is coming here. I'll phone you back.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. All right, so that was her. She said RCMP just walked in as she gave us a call. I did get a text message from her. She said that she refused the PCR test and that she doesn't consent to going to the quarantine facility as a single female Canadian. She also says that she was told that the emergency rules overseed the Canadian rights and freedoms. But as you've seen or might have seen from a recent report done by my colleague, Kian Bexty, he had this to say about refusing his PCR test.
So I'm standing in the Calgary airport and there's absolutely nobody. I told them that I don't want to take an invasive test because I know I have a right to a non-invasive test. And public health, Justin Trudeau's lackeys, they just left. They fled when I called my lawyer. I don't want to break a law. I've told them this time and time again. I don't want to break any laws. I want to go to the quarantine hotel. I just don't want to take a test that goes in my body. Justin Trudeau doesn't get to determine what goes in Kian Bexty's body. He doesn't get to determine what goes in your body. It's just a fundamental right of ours, and the law even says it.
Hi, Drea.
Hi, we're here to fight a fine if you end up with a fine. So what happens if you go home?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
He just said, you think that you're going home? I said, yeah, I do. And then he said, well, you're going to go either way to the quarantine facility. But how can that be? Like, how can that be that I'm going to be going there either way against my will?
This is just madness. She's being told that she's not actually being told that she will be arrested or anything like that. She's told she will be subject to a fine. And then they're kind of asking her, what do you think's going to happen if you go home? So I don't know if that's a bluff or not. We can't give her the advice to go or to stay. All that we can do is be there for her with whatever she decides to do.
Well, the government has really manufactured all of this fear to essentially justify violating our charter rights. And this fear is unsubstantiated. In other words, there isn't the evidence to back it up. So then how can you justify infringing on our charter rights in such extreme ways by, let's say, locking people up in these COVID prisons to prevent the type of harm that hasn't been properly substantiated? And the government isn't just violating our Section 6 mobility right here, which states that every citizen of Canada has the right to enter, remain in, and leave Canada. Not just that, they're violating other rights too, like our rights of liberty, freedom from unreasonable detention, and the right to be free of cruel and unusual punishment. And the law is very clear. If there is a violation of a charter right, it can only be allowed if the violating law is proportional. So 2 questions you need to ask are, does the law minimally impair the infringed right? In this case, absolutely not. The law isn't saying that you can enter the country and stay in your home safely. Maybe that would be a minimal impairment. But no, it's saying that you need to be in a quarantine hotel, AKA a quarantine prison. And the second question to ask is, does the law's benefits outweigh the negative effects of the infringement? And in this case, again, the answer is no. In fact, there's no doubt that there are way more negative effects of the law than positive. I mean, even in terms of preventing COVID, which is the alleged purpose of these COVID prisons, there are more negative effects than positive. I mean, you're way more likely, in my opinion, to be exposed to a disease if you're around strangers in a hotel than if you're isolating at home. And then it comes down to, is the government just not trusting us that we'll actually stay home? Like, is that enough of a reason to implement these quarantine prisons?
Hi, officers. How are you? Good. Okay, are you going to the lady who's refusing to go to the quarantine camp? No? All right, we're tired of waiting here. I got a text that 4 officers are surrounding this poor woman who's terrified of going somewhere after testing negative for a virus. Now, we're going to head in there even though we were kicked out, and we're going to see if we can get some answers and maybe see what's going on with her. Hi. Hello. Hi. Oh, it's a public place and there's no expectation of not being overheard or recorded. So we are allowed as media.
I was just informed by our authorities.
Okay.
They saw you standing over there.
Yeah.
You can stand behind these doors. That's okay, but
Okay.
you're not allowed here.
Can we speak to the authority? Can you call them and ask them to come down?
I'll try. I'll inform my operations center, but if you
Thank
don't mind, for the meantime, just wait there.
Okay, we'll
And
wait over here. We
No,
won't film or anything like that.
Nothing-
Well, actually, the law says that we can be here, right?
Sorry?
The law says that we can be here for freedom of press. So if you could get the authority to talk to us on what authority.
Okay, I will definitely do it.
Okay,
But in the
we'll stay
meantime,
right here.
No, ma'am, just wait over here outside.
Well-
These are my instructions, and then promise you as soon as they come out, you can talk to them.
Okay, well, we want to talk to them and we should have the right to be here.
You don't have to go all the way there. Just
If you could call them and we'll have the
It will take time. They
conversation.
won't come immediately because they are on the other side.
Okay, which side?
Huge terminal, yeah.
Okay,
So
we'll
just wait over here if you don't
we'll stop recording for the time being, but we
Yeah, no,
we
no,
don't have
just
to get
if you
out.
don't mind, you can do recording after this from here. So that's what I've been told.
Okay, we'll stop recording and we'll wait for the authority over
I
here.
will, no, you can't. You have to wait here, please.
Why? Why
I'm
do?
telling you why. These are my instructions. I'm just
Okay,
trying to-
but is this open for the public, this space, or we have to go
No,
up
no,
there?
the public, it's not open to the public. Only
Okay.
employees. See, there's a sign everywhere. Only
Okay.
employees and passengers. Nobody else is allowed.
Okay, well, we'll wait.
You have to take permission. So just wait behind this door, and you're most welcome to wait.
Okay, we'll wait. You're gonna call the authority
I promise
that's
you I'll call them right
okay.
in front of you, okay?
Thank you. So we're still waiting for whatever authority is saying we're not allowed to go in. We're noticing as people are leaving, they have this bright green sort of sticker on them that says tested. I'm assuming most of them tested negative but still have to go. It's insane. This is ridiculous. We're going to get Aaron Rosenberg on the phone, our lawyer here at Rebel, who is amazing, and he's going to get us into this airport.
Aaron here.
Hi, Aaron. I'm just walking up to the gentleman who had kicked us out before here. Hi, excuse me. Hi. So, could you help explain why, as media, we're not allowed to be here? I can pass you on to my lawyer here if you'd like.
Okay, you can refer anything to Wager's media relations team.
Oh, okay. Are they present here, or?
You can give them a call.
Okay, so we can just stand here, right? Since it's public space.
Yeah, just give them a call and get authorization, and then you're.
Okay, so we're gonna stay this time, but we're happy to do that next time then.
You have to call media relations.
Okay, Aaron. So they're saying that we have to call.
Okay, so, we're not aware of any rule. We've been reporting there for a long time. Rebel's been reporting there for a long time. Our client has a right to be there. They're essential in public interest. So, unless there's going to be any sort of punitive action, our reporters are going to remain there reporting.
Yeah, no one said anything about that. We're just saying as a courtesy, give our media relations a phone call.
Well, we were told we were not allowed to be here and recording by both the security and this gentleman over here.
Okay,
So,
just give our media relations a call and they can give
okay,
you more.
we'll call after this for sure, and next time we'll make sure to call ahead of time.
Thanks,
Okay.
Drea. If you have more problems, please let me know.
Okay, thanks, Aaron.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, so we're told that basically she is right behind this area here. She says it's been a very intimidating process. There's been officers, and at this point, they are in fact issuing her fines because she's refused the invasive PCR test and does not feel comfortable or safe going to a quarantine hotel or COVID jail. So we have told her we would help her fight her fines if she chooses to go down this route. And if you want to stand with us in doing so, please head to fightthefines.com. Anything that you donate there will go to help her fight her fines that she's getting, and a ton of other Canadians that have also been receiving tyrannical fines. Hello.
Hi, Drea.
Hi.
They've written up a fine. I'm not sure. It's for $3,450 because I'm not going to the quarantine facility and not taking the PCR test. They're saying it's all under one act of the emergency guidelines now that supersedes apparently the Charter of Rights and Freedom. So I'm getting a ticket of $3,450. I'm not sure what the next steps are here because two officers are standing here. I don't know if they're taking me there or not.
All right, so she's been issued a fine over $3,000. When you look at it, she was going to have to pay $2,000 to stay here, and we are going to help her fight that fine. So who knows what's going to happen in there. I think with all of the stuff going on, from people saying they're getting sexually assaulted in these places, they're having to wait 2 days for water. I mean, this isn't sounding like something that should be happening at all under any circumstances, especially if you can get in a public taxi on your way out of here.
Sandra didn't escape the party or join big protests. She went to visit her friend and tend to an elderly woman's property. And then she refused to enter some quarantine prison or accept a very invasive medical test. And then she gets spoken to and treated like a complete criminal and being slapped with a fine in the amount of $3,450. Enough said. It's obscene.
All right, Sandra, you're definitely a rebel, but with a good cause. Now, they escorted you out some back way, I'm assuming to avoid me and Matt here, because we had to fight to get in and you had to fight to get out. So tell us a little bit about how you're feeling right now.
I'm shaken up a lot. I just was held against my will around the customs for the past almost 2 hours. I'm feeling very intimidated. I'm just really, my nerves are, I'm very anxious. Yeah, a horrible experience to go through to enter into my own country of Canada. I'm a Canadian citizen here. Many generations back, I'm part First Nations, and to be treated like that, to return to my own country when that's our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, is to be able to remain, return, and stay in our own country, and to be treated like that, to return to this country of Canada. There's no democracy here. I can't believe Justin Trudeau has implemented these quarantine jails.
You know, it's quite frightening. And I see that you have already received a penalty for this, for standing up for your freedoms. I'm holding a $3,450 fine for you to return home. Tell us about the circumstances, and I know you have some video of that too. But
When I landed, they demanded I take a PCR test. And I said, again, quarantine, Emergency Act, Quarantine Act 14.1, I refuse to take the PCR test to implement something into my body against my will, a foreign object. And they said, we'll have to fine you for that. I said, that's not a problem. I'm not consenting to it. And they said, where's your ARR Canada form for the hotel? And I said, I didn't fill that out. I don't have that either. They made me fill it out on paper, but still said that I wasn't compliant, even though I filled it out on paper. So once that happened, I was asked to sit down for almost 2 hours while waiting, and I went up to them several times, what am I waiting for? And the RCMP officer came over. Once I spoke to the quarantine officer, the RCMP officer came over and told me I don't have a choice, and said I'm going to the quarantine facility irregardless. And I said, I don't consent to going. It's my right. I don't comply. It's against my will. It's criminal, unlawful to be taken to a quarantine facility. And he looked at me and he said, you don't have a choice. You're going by consenting, or you're going if I take you there. And I said, I just don't consent.
And so then how did it resolve? You're out. You're in the sunlight. And by the way, you're not being told to go into a public taxi to get to these places. How much of a risk are you if everybody that complied is going into a public taxi and going home? So how did it get to the point that you were allowed to come out?
After dealing with 4 RCMP officers, 4 quarantine public officers, mainly the supervisor, Michelle, who was absolutely horrible, extremely intimidating, and wouldn't let me film her, even though I'm allowed to be filming. She wouldn't let me. And I said, even the civilians there working on our behalf, the RCMP officers, I'm allowed to film them, but she wouldn't, kept, putting down my phone. And I had the volume up at the highest. How did it go from there? With 8 people around me, she came over and wrote up the ticket for $3,450 due to the fact I don't consent to the PCR test and don't consent to being taken to the quarantine facility, with 3 police officers around me. And then they just stood there and gave me back my passport, my driver's license, because they had all my documentation, again, against my will. It gave all my ID back as well as the ticket, and said, you're free to go.
Wow. I wouldn't call this quite free, but freer than the alternative. Now it says failure to comply, like you said, with an order prohibiting or subjecting to any condition the entry into Canada, the Quarantine Act. Now, everybody, or many people online, I see this comment, oh, well, you shouldn't be traveling, don't take vacations. Everybody seems to think that everybody who is coming back into the country is on some beach just relaxing. Was that the case for you?
Well, they should be allowed to do that.
I agree.
Actually.
I agree.
Yeah. They should be. Part of my trip was that. It was certainly mental, emotional well-being, for sure. It's part of my self-care, and also part of it was to maintain a friend's condo, and she couldn't travel. She's an older lady. She's in her 70s. She's unable to travel. Auntie, as we say, in the family, maintaining her condo. Nobody's been there in a year, as well as visiting a friend.
And you're absolutely right. This is some of the most stressful times. We see that calls are going up to crisis centers and everything like that. So it's part of your health to digress, including that type of work. It's already something that people need to take a good amount of time off for. Well, we're happy to help you fight this fine and keep closely with whatever else is to come. Did you take a PCR test at some point or not at all?
I did. I had to take a PCR to leave to enter into the state of Hawaii, an NAAT PCR test, and I had to take another PCR NAAT test to arrive within 72 hours.
All right. So they're like, how many hours is that they're asking you to have one test and then another?
Within 72 hours of arriving, and taking another one here and then another one to take home, all paid for by the Canadian citizen. One here and then one in 10 days.
Wow, this is crazy. So they're going to follow up with you, I'm guessing?
As far as coming by my home, they said they would today and tomorrow.
All right. Well, thank you so much for keeping in touch with us, and I hope it's helpful to be able to clear what happened to you so that it can come to light. This is insane. She's just trying to get home, and she's already taken a PCR test, and she can't do it. And I know I said it a million times, but if you can go into a public taxi, you can go home. And do you have a safe enough place to quarantine at home?
Yeah, I do. I have two homes that I can quarantine without anybody there.
And I would say that's a lot safer than being cooped up with a bunch of people that, I don't know, maybe are positive with the virus. So if you want to keep supporting this cause, you can head to fightthefines.com. We will definitely be helping to fight this fine for you. And we're going to follow up and see what else happens. Hopefully there's nothing else legal that happens here, because this is just, like I said, it's insane. There's nothing else I can say. Thank you guys for watching. Drea Humphrey with Rebel News. If you want to join us to fight the good fight, to make it so that Canadians are not told they have no choice to go home when they're healthy and asymptomatic, then please head to fightthefines.com. You're going to help with this case there, whatever you can donate, and anything else that we end up having to take on the good fight for.